up, world? How y'all doing out there? Well, with me, I want to start off by saying today's service in church was amazing, man. It's always a blessing just to show up and let everybody show out. But it's been a while since my wife and I actually sat here and talked about some real interesting topics, we believe. And one of the topics we actually spoke on today in church was about struggles. When people actually hear the word struggle or that someone is struggling, first thing come to mind is, oh, financially. But that ain't always the situation. That ain't always the case. I mean, everybody shares some type of struggle in their life. My wife, mom, stays way on the West Coast in California. Remind you, we stay here in Florida. So that's a form of struggle for her because her mom ain't here the way she'll want her mom to be. You know, everybody want their parents to be somewhere close, driving distance. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. And I mean, she'll love for her mom and her sister to be here and spend a little time with us. But I mean, like I say, struggles, people deal with them in very differently. I mean, some people lost a loved one and who they was very close to. That's a form of struggle, trying to find a way to get through it. I mean, it's hard. Losing your job, it's different. Trying to maintain a good relationship, friendship, friends in general. It's a struggle these days to find someone genuine to keep it real with. Believe it or not, it all starts within. You got to be real with yourself first before you can tend to be real to someone else. I want to actually take y'all back as young adults when my wife and I first got into the real world, I should say. Got our first apartment. I mean, we was young, what, 20, 21, I think I was back then. And I mean, it was difficult for us, you know. And a lot of people don't really understand because I don't really put a lot of people in my business. So this is actually the first time that I'm actually sharing this, you know. It was hard our first time out on our own. It was very hard. I mean, we both had decent jobs. It wasn't really paying much, enough to pay the bills. But then we started having kids. Our first child, I mean, she's a blessing. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, financially, it was a little difficult. But at the same time, I never leaned on my parents, family members, or my wife never did it either. I mean, we just had to man up. People that view us from the outside, wondering, these guys, they just so amazing. They making it work. I don't understand how, but their lifestyle seems so perfect. But that deep secret was just formula. We made too much money, number one, they claim, to get any assistance. I don't understand how, where they got that information from, but at that point, I mean, it is what it is. We had a child in this world we had to take care of. At the same time, we both was required to work full-time jobs now, but we pulled it off. Daycare, it was expensive within itself. I mean, we was paying anywhere from $150 to $200 a week. I mean, it was tough. It was plenty days where I can go back and I can remember the struggle. It was for real. Just looking back in time to where we are now, it was real. It was plenty days when I remember when every time we get paid bi-weekly on our jobs, we was going into overdraft, just basically trying to make it, trying to survive, trying to stay afloat, but at the same time keeping everybody out of our business. We never borrowed no money from nobody, and I'm proud of that to this day, because that is what made us strong. It was a fight, it was a battle, it was a struggle, but we made it through it. That made us tough. People don't understand. We had to go and borrow at the check cashing store, pay their advance. I think they give you what, $500 at a time, which you have to get them a check. So when you get paid, they want their money back. So it was crazy. We get paid, all our bills is accounted for. So we broke before we even get our paycheck. That's crazy, right? Yeah, I already know. But we get our little money. Remind you, we wasn't really making that much money on our jobs. After taxes, we ain't even bringing in $1,000 every 2 weeks back then. That was tough. Remind you, we still had a baby to take care of. We still had to pay our rent. We still had to pay our car insurance, water bill, light bill, groceries, diapers, formula for the baby, daycare. Yes. Credit card bills, cell phone bills. Oh man, I don't understand how we did it, but we did it. That's what makes everything so good. We survived. Trust me, and I know it's a lot of people out there in similar situations don't really understand how it is they getting by, but they getting by. And see, one thing as a man, speaking from a man's perspective, I have people that's depending on me. I got little ones now, my wife, everybody looking at me. So I had to make a way. And we had to do what we had to do at that particular time to survive. I mean, we back in overdraft. When the 2 weeks came, we got paid. The check cashing store, they want their money back that week. So now we back in the negative. And it was a repeated process every 2 weeks. We could never get ahead. And that was very difficult. It was frustrating. It was stressful. But yet, my wife and I, we always kept that amongst us. I mean, it wasn't nobody's business. It's no one's business what goes on in your house. Period. That's the problem. When you have to start borrowing money from everyone and it's hard for you to pay them back, people talk about you. You can borrow someone and pay them back with interest. I mean, that's people, for whatever reason, they just going to talk about you. And that's sad. So, as a man, it's a pride thing with me. Pride. I take that serious. I'd rather struggle before I ask someone for a favor. These days, I pay for favors, man. I remember those days, man. Rushing to get off before 5 p.m. to beat the rush hour traffic, meet up with wifey at the check cashing store, stand in those long lines, not to cash a check, but to borrow from them $500 max to pay bills. That money was already accounted for. We had to make it stretch because, remind you, we get paid every 2 weeks. We did it though, man. We did it. We turned nothing into something, man. And we did it with very little help. I mean, days when I was on my knees and I needed help, I should have actually cried out for help. I did not. Because, like I told you guys before, as a man, it's a pride thing. I don't believe in handouts. I don't believe in begging someone to give me something. I mean, each situation is different. If I really, really, really had to, I would. But I wasn't at that point yet. You know, sometimes I honestly wish I was a millionaire. I wish I was rich because I change a lot of things, man, for a lot of people. I impact a lot of people's lives, man. Seriously. I make it better, man. But right now, I'm trying to work at it, trying to get better. I'm trying to learn daily to become a better me, a better version of me. I wasn't inherited no money growing up. I worked hard for everything that it is that I have now. You know, like I say, where we came from to where we are now, there is a big difference, man. And see, what people don't understand, they look at it from a different point of view. They looking at the lavish lifestyle. But people didn't understand. People not looking at what we had to actually go through to get to where we are now. That struggle was real, man. And like I said, I'm gonna take y'all back a little bit more. Now we got 2 kids. And it was one year, I wanna say it was 2010, 2011. Remind you, I wasn't making a lot of money on my job. 12, maybe $13 an hour. That wasn't much. I know y'all looking like, wow, really? But yeah, really. That's what they chose to pay me for the position I was actually doing at that time. But anyway, I made it work. Made it work. I had no choice. But see, the frustration really set in when Christmas came around and all my money, my wife money too, was going towards bills. So when Christmas rolled around, it was days when we actually could only afford to buy gifts for our kids from the dollar store. Come on, man. Honestly, that's an insult. Seriously. They didn't want it. They was upset. Now when kids go outside on Christmas Day and they riding their bicycles, playing with their video games and skateboarding, rollerblading, whatever the situation is, my kids didn't have that. Baby dolls. So it was very heartbreaking. You know, but I know as parents, we was doing everything we possibly can to survive. I took that very personal. Very personal. Just to sit there and see my kids cry. Because all they want to do is have fun. And I couldn't give them some of the simplest things that a child wants. Toys. So I had to go into the lab and reevaluate the situation. I had to really think about from that moment, what can I do differently, because next year it can't be the same thing. Period. I'm trying to do everything I possibly can the right way. But I just couldn't get ahead. It's like, what am I doing? I don't believe working 2 or 3 jobs just to provide for my family. To each his own. You have to do what you have to do. So with me and my wife staying under the same roof, it was a little bit different. You understand? It was a struggle, but I still had to make time for them. If I'm working 2 or 3 jobs, when would I ever have time to spend with them? I have to cherish those moments. So once again, I had to reevaluate the situation. You understand what I'm saying? So what can I do a little different to bring in another source of income? It takes money to make money. You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't really have no money to really invest in whatever it was came to mind. So that's another thing I had to think about. Well, okay, I can come up with plenty of good ideas, but I need the income to buy whatever it is I need to bring money into my household. You understand? But I just had to come up with a way. I mean, at that time, I love watching movies. I love listening to music. So I turned that into somewhat a hustle for me. I mean, I went out, I bought all the burners that I needed, all the materials, and I went from there. I started selling CDs and DVDs. But a lot of people may look at me, oh, you wrong. Oh, that's illegal. But you got to sit there and honestly, you got to ask yourself and tell yourself, I bought a CD or I bought an illegal DVD myself, even if you did it one time. Hey, we all guilty of something. I'm not perfect. I just knew right then and there I got to survive. That's what I did. Now, remind you, I went and bought everything. It was plenty nights where I couldn't even go to work the next day because my wife and I stayed up all night preparing, packaging these movies, burning them, printing on them, getting ready to ship them out. So, I mean, the money was very good. But I knew in my mind this is not something that I want to do full time. It was only temporary just to get me over that hump, that hardship, I call it. And it worked. My prices was good. My quality was good. The things that I presented was what people wanted. It was hard for a lot of people, and it's still hard. People still can't go to the movies the way they want to see these new films that's coming out with a family of 3, 4, or 5 because it's expensive just buying tickets alone. Now, remind you, it's a family of 4 in my household. So just going to a movie on a Friday after work, we spending at least $30 to $50 buying tickets. That ain't when we step foot into the theater. Now you know your kids, they're gonna want popcorn, they're gonna want juice, candy, all that stuff that's set up for them to make money. They put it right there. As soon as when you walk in the door, boom, it's lit up in that area over there, man. Your kids, they want it. It draw their attention before they actually go down and sit down and watch their movie. I sold movies for about 6 to 8 months. And I made money. I made enough money, put it like this. I ain't gonna even speak numbers. Legal business, paying taxes type of business to go buy me a van, supplies, tank, generator, pressure cleaner, everything, man. I started me a mobile detailing business. That's the day I can say it changed our life. So my wife and I came up with a solution. We say we're going to sit at this table and we're going to write down goals. Write them down. When something come to mind, let's just write it down on some paper. And let's just follow it. Follow it. As we knock one goal down, we add another goal at the bottom. So that's how it just kept rolling. So throughout the years, I swear, it just started escalating, and it just never stopped because we have so many similarities, so many things in common. It's crazy, man. And we just sit down, we talk, pillow talk, we just talk about how to be great. I just want to be happy. I just want y'all truly to be happy. Live a good life.